How many of you have read Visualizing Google Cloud? How many of you know about that book? GCP sketch notes? A cloud girl. And what is common in all of this? That's it, yes. So the next speaker needs no introduction, and without further ado, I'm going to call Priyanka onto the stage, and let's give it up for Priyanka.
Welcome.
माइक में क्लियरली सुनाई दे रहा था ना?
Yeah, it was clear.
Can you hear me? Now can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Well, I am so excited to be here. I was here in 2019. How many of you were here when I was here in 2019? Yeah, there are like 4 people. Well, I'm still very, very excited to be here. It's always amazing to see so much warmth coming from all of you, and I feel like I already connect with you all because I connect with you on either Twitter or LinkedIn, or at least there must be a few people here who I have responded to or answered a question either on YouTube or, I try at least to connect. So I feel like I know most of you. I've definitely met a few people who I have interacted with online here. So it's always great to be here. So with that, I'm not going to teach you anything today. It's not a session to teach anything. It's really about how can we create our careers in cloud. How do you start if you're somebody who is a student or just new to cloud? How do you start your journey? Or if you already are in cloud, how do you keep progressing? That's what today is all about. So we'll do, because I feel like I teach a lot in YouTube and in other places. So today I thought we'll do a little bit different and talk maybe a little bit about my journey, a little bit about other people's journeys that will pop up in some of my presentation, and keep a little bit for questions, and I'm around for the entire day, so you can ask a lot of questions. Okay, so with that, we'll go through, I'll walk you through a few-step process of how you build your career in cloud. Where do you start? What do you do? So it's like a 4-step journey that I feel works for most people. And then with that, I will answer a few questions that I usually get asked either online or in person whenever I meet people. So I've curated some of those questions and I'll answer it for you if those are your questions. And then in the end, I'll leave you with a few tips to build your career in cloud. So with that in mind, let's move to the next slide, if it gets there. What? I think it's stuck. Okay, no. Okay, so the first ingredient, right? Like Ali was saying, a lot of it is related to motivation and whether you want to do this or not. So if you've decided that you want to make your career in cloud, that was really the main and the most important part, right? If you're excited about it, now all the next steps, you'll make it work. All these steps are just logistics, right? You'll figure it out, you'll make it work. We have examples of people who have done it. So you know that it works. So now let's move to the next step. So the first ingredient, and if you don't take away anything from today's sessions, this is the only thing you got to take away, which is commitment and motivation. If you've got that, and it's true in every case, right? It's not about cloud career. It's like if you've got commitment and motivation to do a thing, you will do that thing, right? So if you have that, that's the only thing that's needed. I'll keep stressing on that. Okay, I'm sure this thing is not working. It works sometimes and it doesn't work some other times. Okay. We'll do it the old-fashioned way. Step 1, understanding your cloud path. What is it that you want to do in cloud, right? And cloud is vast, as you might already know, because you're here, so you want to untangle it. There are lots of different options. You can be a developer, you can be a machine learning engineer, you can be a data scientist, you can be a network engineer, security engineer, and the list keeps going, and you see some of that there, right? What do you do? It's always that first question that you might ask yourself, which path do I choose, right? It's not easy. But the place you start is my next slide. The place you start is whatever your experience wherever your experience lies in. So what I mean by that is, whatever your background is, let's say you are a network engineer, let's say you are a security engineer, let's say you are a developer, whatever your background is, start there. Don't try to, like if you're a network engineer and you're like, okay, I'm going to become an architect. It'll be a harder path. Network engineers, start with the network engineering path in cloud. Like whatever your traditional background is, bring that. If you're a developer, bring your developer experience and build for cloud, right? That's an easier path to get into cloud. So I have no idea what's going on here, so just listen to me. So if you start with whatever you're good at already, or whatever you know already, it's easier for you to make that transition into cloud. But let's say, so I started from, in my journey's perspective, I was working at a SaaS company that builds those phone systems when you call in and you get frustrated, right? Like somebody who's not a person answers your phone call. Those are the systems that I started that was my internship. But that was my introduction to software as a service. This is a service that was built in cloud, and we used to offer options for companies to manipulate or change the ways in which people would interact with their phone systems. That was my introduction to cloud, and I was like, you know what, I want to do more in cloud. My next transition, my next company was a CDN company, so content distribution networks, and that's when I got even more exposure to cloud, how things work, how things become faster, how websites work, how internet works, all of that. And then from there, I was like, I want to do more of like how infrastructure works, how cloud infrastructure in general works, how applications are deployed. So then I moved core into cloud, which was my job at Google as a customer engineer. So I shared that journey because that's how you draw from wherever you are at to where you want to go. So if whatever your job is, I'm pretty sure whatever you're learning today can be applied or transitioned into where you want to be. Just try to connect those dots. Okay, so it looks like this. Thank you. Okay. So this is an example of somebody who's already a network engineer who moves to cloud. So I'm not spending more time on that because you got the idea. Now, you might say that I'm a student, I have no background in any of these paths. What do I do, right? There's no background. I'm not a developer, I'm not a network engineer, I'm not a security engineer. Everything's new to me. I just don't know where to start. For people like that, starting with, oh, wait, what? Okay, we can maybe officially say that I don't know how to use this thing. Okay, we'll just stay here. So for people like that, I would recommend starting with with the architect path. And architect path, don't take me wrong, architect path is not easy, but it is the path that will prepare you and expose you to a lot of different things. And this is what I mean by that. It'll teach you a little bit of infrastructure, a little bit of networking, a little bit of databases, security, and an application of that data into analytics and machine learning. So it covers sort of a realm of things, so that consider it to be like a palette where you get served with a lot of things, and then now you have a background in, okay, you know what, I am more interested in, or I find myself more drawn towards infrastructure, or I find myself more drawn towards DevOps side of things. It gives you exposure to a lot of things, and this is one of the other lessons which applies to life as well. But if you expose yourself to more things, there's more possibilities for you to figure out that this is what I'm interested in. But if you don't expose yourself to large number of things, then your options start to seem limiting. So that's the reason I recommend, if you're at a point where it's like, I really don't have any background in any of this stuff, then start with the cloud architect path. That will give you background and a little bit of foundation in bunch of different things. From there, you can stay an architect and specialize more, or you can specialize into one of those areas, and that will take you to your next stage. Again, going back to try and connect those dots. What is it that makes you feel happy, makes you feel excited to do, and then you'll be able to connect your next path with your current stage. Okay. That brings me to step 2, which is, you know what you want to do. Now you've figured out your path. You're like, okay, I'm going to be a network engineer, or I'm going to be an architect, whatever it is that you've decided. Your step 2 is studying for a certification. And I know, because I don't do exams really well, so I know exams can be hard. And so when you consider certifications, I'm not saying like, study for a certification to get certified. Don't even think about studying for a certification to get certified. Certifications are not going to get you a job. Be very clear about this. They're not going to get you a job. What gets you a job will come later, and I'll tell you what gets you a job in the next few slides. But don't think about certification as a scary thing. I am suggesting certification as the second, studying for a certification as the second path, because certification, wait, what? Yeah, it's true. I don't know how to use this. Okay. This is what I meant. Certification, I'm suggesting only for helping you with structured studying. That's all it is. If you're trying, if you get back to step 1, I want to be an architect, right? I need to go through the steps of creating an application, deploying it, different choices of what to choose in order to deploy my application, what type of database, what type of infrastructure, what type of storage, all of those things. How do I create my networking to deploy these? What's the project going to look like? What's the security structure that's going to look like, right? All of that you'll have to learn, and that needs to be in a structured study path, and certification prep will help you create that structured study path. Whether you at the end of the day take a certification or not, that's irrelevant. What's relevant is you got the information that will actually help you land a job, and that's more important. So consider certification prep as the second step, not with an intention to get certified, which I think if you've studied, you should definitely go get certified, but with an intention to keep you on track. The way I do it is I like to put dates on things, right? 3 months from now, I am taking this certification. And what happens with that is it makes you committed and motivated, and it keeps you driven every single day. It's like, oh, shoot, I didn't do these 3 things that I was supposed to do today. I had to do the labs for this, and I didn't do that. It keeps you motivated, it keeps you going, because there's a target that you're working towards. Now, that target itself is not going to get you a job. So we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. So third step is hands-on labs. Hands-on labs are these labs that you will come across as when you study for certifications in Coursera courses, like fundamentals, Google Cloud fundamentals, any cloud fundamentals, and then that's very important because you need to play with the tech. If you have, I work backwards. I do the lab first, or I try the thing first before I actually read about it, right? Because that's just my way of learning. I need to play with it, I need to mess with it, break it, and then learn about it. So whatever works for you, some people read first and then try the lab. So step 2 and 3 could be swapped for you if you are that kind of person, but you can't afford to miss this step because this is the part that's going to teach you how things work. And this is very important for when you actually go for an interview. Certification, you may be able to clear it without this part, but you will definitely not clear an interview without this part. So you need to be very, very focused on playing with the tech. I think certifications will also require you a little bit of this. And Cloud Skills Boost is a great place to start. So if you're like, okay, I want to have data science path, Cloud Skills Boost is this site. If you are not aware of it, definitely go on there and you'll find different paths, and those are the hands-on labs that you can go through, and a good starting point for somebody at that level. Step 4, I don't know why my images are not showing up. Okay, they're a little delayed. Okay, build your portfolio. And you have to read the quotes here. Your certification proves it. Wait, what? That's not right. Okay, I think I messed up there. What I meant to say was your certification proves that you have the skills, but your portfolio proves that you can actually apply those skills to a business use case. So don't read that. I've messed up there. But that's the distinction, right? You have to have a portfolio or some projects to showcase when you go for interviews, when you talk to people about your work. You have to have something to show for, right? And that's where that portfolio comes in. And what I mean by portfolio, we'll see in the next few steps. Hello. Those were the 4 steps that we just went through. Understand your path, study for certification, hands-on labs, build your portfolio. If hands-on labs is your jam as the second thing, then feel free to swap things out. But roughly speaking, that will take you to a certification path, a path in cloud, and will prepare you for an interview. Because end of the day, job and an interview is what you want. Certification is not the goal, but certification will help you get there. Okay, so some questions that I get asked, the questions that I was talking about earlier, is getting a certification and doing hands-on labs enough? I think you know the answer. What's the answer to that? No, it's not. It's not. It's never going to be enough to just do a certification and hands-on labs. You need to build your foundation. You need to work on those hands-on labs. They're non-negotiable, but they won't get you a job. But once you do all that, you have to pick the second and the third, like the build your portfolio part of it is super important. And the way I say build your portfolio is pick an example. Pick something that you're super excited about. Let's say you like to watch Netflix. How would someone create a Netflix mock, right? How would you create a mock of a social media app that shares photos? Build that whole thing from ground up. How would you create the front end? That'll help you learn a little bit of coding if you're not in coding yet. Coding is important. This is another myth that people have, that I can survive or I can get into cloud without coding. You need to know coding, a little bit of coding. You need that experience. So when I say build your portfolio, let's say you picked that example of creating a social media app. One of my interns just did that. He wanted to learn cloud, so he built a social media application from ground up. We'll share, he made it for pets, so pets will share pictures on this social media platform. And so he would write, the first step is you learn to write code, which is the front end. You learn what my back end would look like, what would be my database, what would be the API that would, from the database that would connect my front end. Then where would I deploy this? Would I use serverless? Would I use containers? Would I use compute engine? And then from there, how would I deploy it? Would it be infrastructure as code, Terraform? And then once I have deployed it, how do I collect data from the click streams, right? If you just do that part, that little example has pretty much all the things that you can showcase in an interview. Now you're prepared to answer questions that an interviewer is interested in knowing. What's the type of experience you have, and you can, if you can answer questions like, how do I make a decision between this service and that service? You won, right? Because when you make an application yourself, you will go through the process of making these decisions. Like, I should be using serverless in this case, or a cloud function in this case, because this is just a one function API call that I can make. Or I should be using Firestore in this case versus a Spanner in this case, right? Those decisions you come across when you make an application like that. And it doesn't have to boil the ocean, it can just be super simple like I explained. So if you go through that process of building one application, then you're not just preparing for certification, but you will eventually, you're preparing yourself to answer questions that an interviewer is interested in knowing. From there, networking, which is my fourth point, Ali said it beautifully. You being here, talking to people, that's one part of it. The second part of it is, how do you use this network to explain what you've been doing? So if you build that portfolio example, if you build a thing, how do you create a blog out of it and share it with other people so the community can learn? You'll hear from Abhishek today, who has been doing so much of this work, who was following the community, and then now, after writing a bunch of blogs and learning and landing a job in cloud, he's here to share his story today. So sharing is also very important in what you're doing, and this will also help you, like when you're at a point where when you're looking for jobs, it will help you showcase your work to the people who are looking to hire. And that's how you use the community to your benefit and help the community to support them. So utilize that network. I know we only have 3 minutes left, so I will go quickly here, but I think I've covered the things that I really wanted to cover. This is another question I get: will certs help me bypass the degree filters? Kind of, yes, because when resumes are filtered, the recruiters would look for that information in terms of certs, but that's how I think about it. It will help you land an interview. But the way you clear an interview is with that portfolio that I talked about. So that is what you need in order to land your interview. But yes, cert will, on your resume, it will help you get an interview. But clearing that interview is how the way you get that is through building that portfolio and following those 4 steps that we talked about. Okay, this is hard to read. I just wrote a blog about this. If you're confused which certification to take or which certification to go after, this kind of lays that out for you. In short, if you're just beginning and you have no background, I would go with Cloud Associate Engineer certification path that will teach you a lot about everything, and then you can find your path from there. But those who are experienced can maybe just go for professional cloud engineer certification. That's the short version of this, but you can go ahead and read more. With that, I've seen people trying to get more certs. That's not going to get you a job. I guess I'm just answering that question of like, what's the sweet spot? 1 or 2 certs show that you're serious about this, you want to make a career in cloud. But beyond that, it's a point of diminishing returns, right? You're not using your time to build your practical portfolio. You're just trying to get certifications. That's not going to help you get jobs. So be in that sweet spot, 2, 3, that makes sense. But beyond that, it's not good use of your time. Okay, this is an example. Let's say you're a database engineer and you want to move to cloud. How do you do that? You can plug that database engineer with whatever else that you're interested in. This is just an example. What I was trying to do here is it's a 3-step process to, if you are already in cloud, or if you already have some experience in one of these fields that we were talking about, the first step would be you build that thing that you already know in cloud. So if you're a database engineer, like, okay, I'm going to deploy SQL Server or a MySQL instance in Compute Engine and see how that works. That's your first step. Once you've done that, then you automate the thing that you deployed. So with the database example, how do you deploy that same database instance through Terraform or through infrastructure as code? And the third step would be, how do you reproduce the exact same thing in the cloud native fashion? So with cloud services or cloud. So in this case, in the SQL example, how do you deploy a cloud SQL instance and put your data into it or migrate your data into it? So that's like a very short journey of like, how do you cloudify a skill that you already have? Now you plug any of, like if you're an infrastructure engineer already and you help like build, you help deploy or build VM instances and things like that, then that journey can be plugged in here as well. You deploy a Compute Engine instance, you automate how you automate that deployment. Maybe I add a step in there and say, now I'm trying to do this with containers and deploying the same application with containers. And then your third step could be you reproduce that thing with, let's say, Cloud Run, because it's a serverless service, right? So plug anything you want there, but that's your 3-step process of cloudifying a skill that you already have. I know I'm totally over. It's like 2 minutes over, so I'll go through super quickly and leave you with shaping your career in cloud is simple. Things are simple if you keep them simple. So this is my simple way of saying, if you want to progress, you're already in cloud, you want to progress and shape your career in cloud, you have to stay relevant. You have to stay on top of new trends. And by trends, like when VMs were around, then containers came in, then after containers, there's like serverless containers now. This is an example, but like you have to stay on top of that trend. And that's how you stay relevant and keep getting those jobs or keep relevant in your own jobs, because you'll have to innovate and evolve in your own roles as well. So that's one. Grow your multi-cloud skills. That's very important. Just having, these days, every company needs more than one cloud for different things, and they are whether they want it or not, inevitably you end up being in multiple clouds because your application has such requirements. So if you grow your multi-cloud skills, you will know how all the different clouds work and how the interplay works, and that's very important to keep growing in your career. And then just staying hungry. I think that's just the one that I personally relate to. You have to continue to be like, okay, what else can I do? What else can I learn? What's next for me? And if you have that, you'll find a new project, you'll volunteer for a new project, you'll find somebody who's working on something cool and you'll be like, can I help you with that, right? And that is how you keep shaping your career. Whatever's more interesting, I would definitely peek around and be like, oh, can I help you with that? And and you'll find ways to build and shape on top of that. Okay, 10 tips, and this will be super quick. Understand cloud computing. We talked about this, so we don't have to go more into that. Opportunities in cloud are across industries, so whatever industries are interesting to you, you can pretty much jump into any of the industries that are of interest to you. So it's not like you only can do work in high tech or in very specific areas. Every company is innovating with cloud. So areas and opportunities are a lot, and these are the opportunities we talked about. Leverage the community. I can not stress more on this, but you'll hear a lot more from other people about leveraging the community. If you are not part of the Innovators Program, this is Google Cloud's Innovator Program. I highly encourage you to join this. There are lots of events that happen. I did a presentation recently in this one as well. Be part of it. There are lots of like-minded people who are building careers in cloud that are in that program. And you'll be able to learn and share your work and all of those things if you're part of that community. Communication skills and technical skills are really a winning combination. It was lagged. Definitely work on your technical skills, but also work on your communication skills. And what I mean by that is if you are working on your, let's say you built something, talk about it. Share it with a friend, share it as a blog, share it on social media. Build those communication skills. You will, whether you like it or not, you will have to sell yourself. You will have to sell your work. You will have to sell your skills. Sometimes in a job interview, but sometimes just to keep moving forward and promoted and building your career. So communication skills are super important. Don't neglect those, and you can build on those by just starting to write blogs. Nothing fancy, nothing major. Share your work. Be authentic. Your path would look very different than mine, than the person sitting next to you. The path that you pick, there's lots of different options like we saw. It doesn't have to match with whoever is sitting next to you, whoever you're talking to. Try to do what you feel like doing, which is if you want to be a network engineer, make your path for it. If you want to be an architect, make your path for it. There's no wrong answer. You just have to be passionate and you'll find your way. Augment your current skills. So if you're a network engineer, build on top of that so that it's easier for you to get to make progress and headway faster. You'll see success faster, and then you'll be able to move and maneuver your career from there. But if you start from something extremely new, that might take a little bit longer. It's not a wrong path. It's just easier if you augment on your current skills. Start with foundational courses, like we talked about earlier. Target a certification. Discipline, put a date on your certification. I'll take this in next 3 months, and that way you'll prepare better and form study groups. Find people in this community who are also working on getting their certifications. You'll be able to make friends. You'll be able to talk to them, maybe apply for jobs together and prepare for them together. So utilize the community again. Build your portfolio. Referrals, once you build your community, you will be able to get referrals. People are going to be able to see you and share your work. These are some bonus tips, especially in India right now. And Roman has shared this with me. So Roman, you'll hear from Roman later today. Every business is hiring. B2C portfolios are growing so fast, and all of them are using cloud. So any startups that you think are working with cloud. So the opportunities for jobs are really growing in that B2C space. And then IT service companies are also serving customers who are moving to cloud or are building things in cloud. So those service companies are also hiring cloud expertise. And then the third thing, which is those traditional enterprises that we know sell something totally different like automotive, banking, retail. All of these companies are innovating now so that they can utilize and leverage cloud, which is why there are jobs in those traditional companies as well. So if you think about the job market, there's lots of different opportunities related to cloud. You can literally find them in any of these areas. So all you have to do is pick your path and stick with it, and then figure out which of these are of interest to you and start applying. With that, thank you. I know I'm totally over a lot of minutes, but I hope you all found this helpful, and I'm around to answer any questions after this.